So I'm driving up Old Dublin Road and I'm going to make a left on Tired Iron Drive. And if you look on MapQuest, it says Tire Iron, not tired. So I first thought this was some sort of scrapyard. When I drove up there, I saw that there was a great number of old trucks used for sanding and plowing the roads. So these trucks look like city trucks because they were painted orange. But written on the side of these trucks is the name C.A. Willard. Now, I did not notice this at first. However, look at this red truck in the back, and it's hauling some piece of equipment on it, but we'll get to that. Here is another view of the white tractor trailer truck. Then you can see this blue sign on the hood of the truck that reads Chunkin. Then on the right is a dark colored Honda, and they have a sticker advertising Extreme Chunkin, October 14th and 15th in Loudon, New Hampshire. Now Loudon is located about an hour away from this location. It's right near Concord, which is the capital of New Hampshire. So I looked up this Extreme Chunkin on the internet, and I found that it is being held at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And that's a race car track, like for NASCAR. And what they do is they have these catapults that launch things like old motorcycles, boats, cars. They also catapult pumpkins, I guess. I guess it's a big kick for some people to go and see anything being catapulted through the air and then smashing apart when it hits its target or just crashes down on the road. So they had some video on their website where they demonstrated some of these devices, and they used catapults, and they also used these air cannons, these air compressor cannons. And they launched things through the air, I guess at targets. So based on these two signs, one in the back of this Honda and the other on the front of this tractor trailer truck, I'm going to guess that this piece of equipment is a catapult, and they may be doing something like the Extreme Chunkin event, but locally for a more private audience. And I'm going to guess that they may be doing this at those fields off of Eton Road. It looks like these catapults have to be put on flat ground. And right at the entrance of that field on Eton Road, there is a small section of flat ground. But then it goes up the hillside. So that design of that field may be perfect for doing things like having targets to catapult things at. Then across the street from that field is the field that is more flat. Eton Road is a very isolated and rural road. I think it has 2 houses on it, way at the other end. And besides that, it is a very rural and isolated road. And I would not be surprised if they could easily block off this entrance into Old Dublin Road here. By parking some emergency vehicles or just cars in front of that to deter anybody from going in there who may be just driving through. But this is another reason why the military wants complete control of whole regions where only their people are allowed in there and everybody else becomes a target. So back to Tired Iron Drive here. You got this black helicopter. It's a kid's toy. I wouldn't be surprised if they got this after shutting down a supermarket somewhere. And I guess that may be something that they'll collect to hurl through the air. So the military could get a big kick at seeing something like that flying through the air with or without somebody in there, so it could then smash down on the other side, or possibly be used to aim at somebody and smash into somebody like they did in these old Juggernaut rituals that came out of India. So you see that these people have collected all types of scrap that they could potentially use with a catapult. And then there is this trailer marked with a sign that says Ned Lloyd. And against that, there appears to be lawn ornaments, a collection of bird bath, a couple of vases, and a statue of what appears to be a lady. And then out of place up here is this compact car amongst all these old, large trucks used for construction or hauling things. And in the back is a wooden house. And it does not appear like any power lines are leading up to the house. So going up the rest of Tired Iron Road, they just have junk accumulated all over the property. Like this open trailer with just junk spilling out of it. On the right is a trailer. There's just junk thrown everywhere. But if you notice, someone has taken the time to cut the grass in the yard. Here's some more piles of junk. A couple of old trucks parked on the side of the road. And then there are two sections of train. They are painted blue, and one has antennas and a satellite dish on its roof, suggesting that somebody may be staying in there or being kept in there. Parked on the right-hand side of the road is a silver Chevy Trailblazer, and it looks like it's kept in pretty good shape. And it is parked right next to this overflowing pile of junk. Then there is another tractor trailer truck bearing the name of C.A. Willard. And it also looks like it's in pretty good working order next to the piles of junk and debris that litter the premises. So I saw a small trail to the right. Again, it looked freshly mowed. And I walked down that trail to see more equipment used for sanding and plowing roads. It looks like this guy may have a contract with the city. So what I did at that point was I looked up C.A. Willard out of Hancock, New Hampshire on the internet. But when I did a search for C.A. Willard or C.A. Willard Trucking Company, nothing came up but his address of 68 Old Dublin Road, which I think is right next to Tire Iron Drive. So I went to the town of Hancock's website at www.hancocknh.org, and I did a search for C.A. Willard. And what came up was the Town of Hancock Select Board Meeting, Budget Public Hearing Minutes. And that took place on February 4th of 2019. So they had a list of people present, including Ben Billings, Charles Willard, Chief of Police Andrew Wood, and Mia Lee, who is the Director of Public Works. So they began the meeting by discussing the overall increase in budget from the previous year, citing the major factors for the increase. And then they discussed buying a new truck for the Chief of Police, Andrew Wood. And at that point, Ben Billings asked if the new police truck would replace the police chief's old vehicle, which was a Crown Victoria, and he confirmed that it would. So as you see, there is a B. Billings written on the side of one of these trucks parked on Tired Iron Drive. So that may be the same Billings, a Ben Billings, who was mentioned at this town meeting. So then the Director of Public Works, which is a lady, I guess, named Mia Lee, and she mentioned the need to replace a broken backhoe that the town owned. and she discussed buying a new one from a company called Nortrax, whereupon Ben Billings stated that he was very familiar with the state vehicles leased from Nortrax. Billings stated that Nortrax does all the maintenance and the town would get a good machine for a good price. Later on in the meeting, they discussed purchasing a new power angle plow, and Billings said that the town should look at used plows and asked why they wanted to replace the one they had, and Mia Lee said that the old one had structural problems. So from reading the minutes of the Town of Hancock Select Board meeting taking place on February the 4th of 2019, you'll learn that Ben Billings and Charles Willard will be at the town meeting, and Ben Billings will act as something of an advisor, and he'll question the chief of police and the process of him buying a new vehicle for police use, and he'll also advise the director of public works named Mia Lee. At this time, I want to refer you to another investigation I did, and the video is called Snakeland, and it's an investigation into an area in the town of Peterborough and the surrounding area. So in part 8 of that video series, and I find an area that I find out later is called Yankee Siege, and it's actually in Greenfield. And after looking them up on the internet, I find that their address is 171 Forest Road, and that is also Route 31, and it's in the town of Greenfield. So I guess that it's for one of these pumpkin chunkin events where they use a catapult to launch pumpkins at a target. And in this place, the targets are metal castles. So the place is decorated kind of like Halloween. So they have a witch's cauldron, and they got Dracula gates. And so I walk around the place taking video of it because some of the stuff looks kind of unusual and looks more occult than a pumpkin Halloween event. So if you walk to the castle that is all the way in the back of the field, it's a tower. It's a tower style castle. And for some reason, it has a secret underground entrance. So the tower is built on the edge of a hillside. And then there's this tunnel leading into the hillside and goes up into the tower. And I looked in one of the windows in the tower, and there is some sort of case sitting there. I don't know if that's for a laptop or what, but someone has left their case in there. So I don't know why they'll want to put someone into a metal tower so they could then launch pumpkins at it with a catapult. But what is also odd is that someone has taken something and scratched on the side of the metal in the tunnel area leading into that tower. It looks like some psychotic person has taken something and just scratched the metal 1,000 times to create this scratch, and has even scraped something that looks a little bit like a pentagram. So if you look up Yankee Siege on the internet, and that is www.yankeesiege.com, and I found a photograph of a group of people called the Yankee Siege team at the 2006 World Championships. And if you go to the page called About Yankee Siege, there's a heading of the builders, and it says it's constructed by a family called the Seegers. So there is a Steve, Patrick, Michael, and Kathy, and they all have the last name Seegers. And after each of their names is the title Yankee Farmer, and then underneath that it says consultant and builder Chuck Willard, Hancock, New Hampshire. So a family called the Seegers constructed this Yankee Siege place, and none other than Chuck Willard from Hancock, New Hampshire was the consultant and builder. So I recommend that you watch the investigation called Snakeland, and you can see the Yankee Siege in part 8 of that investigation.